I made 300 shillings a month as an apprentice, and 100 shillings I had to give my parents so I could get the food. In 1997, 2 babies were born in California, just 5 days apart. Both had the same father. Only one was supposed to exist. For 14 years, Arnold Schwarzenegger kept this explosive secret while his housekeeper brought the child to his house every day. The boy grew bigger, stronger, and started looking exactly like him. Nobody said anything for 14 years until that moment in therapy, when Arnold finally said yes. The family never recovered from those 3 letters. Arnold Schwarzenegger was born in 1947 in a small village in post-war Austria. His father Gustav was the local police chief, a strict, heavy-handed man shaped by the horrors of World War II. Gustav had survived being buried alive in rubble for 3 days, but he didn't leave that trauma behind. He brought it home. Arnold grew up in a house ruled by fear. His father would make him and his older brother Meinhard compete for affection. Even picking flowers for their mother turned into a test. And when Gustav drank, it got worse. Screaming, beatings. The kind of violence Arnold said left broken men all over the country. In Austria, this wasn't rare, it was the norm. But Arnold didn't want to survive that world. He wanted to escape it. He wanted to become somebody. He didn't just dream his way out. He worked. At just 4 years old, Arnold was forced to earn his breakfast by doing 200 sit-ups and push-ups every single day. His father made sure there were no easy mornings. Rain or snow, there was no skipping. After that came football training and schoolwork. 10-page reports, every mistake corrected in red. If a word was spelled wrong, they had to rewrite it 50 times. Gustav believed pressure built character. Arnold didn't break under it, but his brother Meinhard did. Meinhard was the sensitive one. Creative, quiet, smart. But where Arnold fought to get out, Meinhard turned inward. He drank. A lot. And in 1971, at just 24 years old, Meinhard died in a drunk driving crash. He hit a telephone pole in Kitzbühel. Arnold, who was already in America chasing his dreams, didn't attend the funeral. Many didn't understand why, but Arnold later said it plainly. The same thing that made me who I am destroyed him. A year after Meinhard's death, their father died too. Arnold carried the scars, but he refused to let them define him. At age 14, something changed. Arnold was playing football as usual when his coach brought the team to a local gym near Thallersee Lake. That's where Arnold saw it. Men lifting weights, sculpting their bodies into pure muscle. He was hooked instantly. Football was over. Iron had taken over his life. By 15, he was training 6 days a week, while most were barely doing 3. He read every magazine he could find, watched every movie with bodybuilders. By 18, he won Junior Mr. Europe. And at 20, he became the youngest Mr. Universe ever. He hadn't just found a new sport, he'd found his way out. But the story wasn't all inspiration. In the background, there was a secret. One Arnold couldn't ignore. His father Gustav had joined the Nazi Party in 1938. He was accepted officially in 1941. He wasn't just a member, he was part of the SA, the brown-shirted stormtroopers. He served as a master sergeant in the Nazi military police and fought in brutal battles from Poland to Leningrad. For years, Arnold said nothing. But in 1990, he asked the Simon Wiesenthal Center to investigate his father's past. The first reports found no war crimes, but deeper digging later revealed Gustav's full involvement. Arnold never denied it. Instead, he used it. He spoke publicly against hate, against violence, against repeating what he had seen in the broken men around him as a child. At 19, Arnold made his first bold move. He left Austria and headed to Munich. He had nothing but a suitcase and a dream. After finishing 9 months of mandatory army service, he stepped off the train in a new world. The city was huge, loud, and overwhelming. But Arnold told himself, this is going to be my new home. He moved into a one-room flat on Christophstrasse, living with other bodybuilders like Franco Columbu. Money was tight. Sometimes he slept in a storage room at the gym. But he didn't care. He was finally where he needed to be. He worked as a gym trainer at Schillerstrasse 36, earning just enough to survive. The equipment was old. The space was small. But for Arnold, it was perfect. It gave him access, and he made the most of it. He trained for 5 to 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. No excuses. He focused on weak spots. Calves, thighs, arms, pounding them with up to 60 sets per session. He slept 10 hours a night. No drinking, no smoking, just discipline. Even his flatmates were bodybuilders. They trained together, worked side jobs, and kept each other going. The gym became more than a place to lift weights. It became home. Then came the breakthrough. In September 1967, at just 20 years old, Arnold won Mr. Universe in London. He had tried before and lost. But this time he beat Dennis Tinerino, an American favorite. The win sent shockwaves through the bodybuilding world. Arnold's size, shape, and showmanship were unmatched. When he got back to Munich, he stood shirtless in the snow for a photo shoot. He didn't care about the cold. He cared about being seen. That win wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Arnold would go on to win Mr. Universe 5 times and Mr. Olympia 7 times. But the world had already started to notice. His training methods were as extreme as they were controversial. While others stuck to short, structured workouts, Arnold believed in overkill. He trained twice a day, 6 days a week, chest and back in the morning, legs, calves, and abs in the evening. The next day, shoulders, biceps, triceps in the morning, then more calves and abs at night. His off-season weight climbed to 255 pounds, 20 to 30 more than his competition weight. Experts warned he'd burn out, but he didn't. He kept pushing, believing you had to shock the muscles to grow. Of course not. All the growth came naturally. Arnold has admitted to using steroids, mainly Dianabol and testosterone, starting in his late teens. He said it was under doctor supervision and in small doses. 100 milligrams of testosterone a week and 3 Dianabol a day, he explained. Back then, steroids weren't illegal, and the culture around them was very different. Still, some old gym mates claimed he used more than he admitted, and that he introduced others to it. Arnold never pretended to be perfect, but he was honest about what it took. He stepped off the plane in October 1968 with a duffel bag, a heavy accent, and just $20 in his pocket. Arnold Schwarzenegger was only 21. He didn't speak English well. He didn't know the culture, but he knew one thing. He wanted to make it in America. Born in a tiny Austrian village after World War II, he grew up poor, surrounded by discipline and cold winters. By the age of 20, he had already become Mr. Universe. But that wasn't enough. America was the dream that started when he was just 10. His early days were rough. He didn't understand menus or slang. People laughed at him, but the bodybuilding community took him in. Strangers gave him dishes, blankets, even a TV. Joe Weider, the man behind the biggest bodybuilding events, gave him a place to stay and paid him just enough to train full-time. Arnold never forgot that kindness. He often said he didn't make it alone. Only 2 years later, he won Mr. Olympia at 23, the youngest to ever do it. He kept winning year after year. From 1970 to 1975, he was unbeatable. He beat legends like Sergio Oliva and Lou Ferrigno. Even when Mr. Olympia tried splitting the contest into weight classes, Arnold came out on top. In 1980, he shocked everyone with a comeback win, his 7th title. His first victory earned him just $1,000. By 1980, the prize was $25,000. He helped grow the sport just by being in it. But Arnold didn't just win with muscles. He used his mind too. He got inside his rivals' heads. Before one big contest, he sat with Lou Ferrigno at breakfast and told him he looked almost ready, planting doubt just hours before the show. It worked. Lou froze. Arnold never left these things to chance. He told jokes, dropped rumors, made competitors second-guess themselves. If they couldn't handle the pressure, he believed they didn't deserve to win. While others just lifted weights, Arnold treated it like art. His 22-inch biceps became the stuff of legend. He trained arms multiple times a week using brutal high-volume routines. But he didn't just curl for hours. He focused deeply, connecting his mind to every movement. He even twisted his wrist just right to peak the outer head of the biceps. He wanted not just size, but shape, detail, perfection. Then came the cameras. In 1977, Pumping Iron hit theaters. It made bodybuilding cool and Arnold a household name. But the film wasn't all real. Some parts were scripted, including the story about skipping his father's funeral, which wasn't even true. They even faked a rivalry between two other bodybuilders for drama. Arnold didn't mind. He played the villain, the calculating champion. He leaned into it. It got people talking and it worked. But when he tried to break into acting, Hollywood laughed at him. They hated his accent. They mocked his name. One executive even called him Schnitzel. They told him to play villains, Nazis, anything but a hero. He didn't fit the mold. In the 1970s, leading men were small, smart, quiet. Arnold was the opposite. Still, he pushed forward. His first film was Hercules in New York in 1970. It was awkward. They changed his name to Arnold Strong and dubbed over his voice. The film bombed. For 5 years, he got no major offers. He stayed patient. Then in 1976, everything changed. He landed a role in Stay Hungry, and this time his accent worked. His charm came through. He even won a Golden Globe for Best Acting Debut. That win opened new doors. In 1982, he starred in Conan the Barbarian. It had a $20 million budget and earned $79 million worldwide. The gamble paid off. Arnold was now a real movie star. His size, his accent, and his strange screen presence became strengths, not weaknesses. Then came 3 words that made history. I'll be back. In 1984, Arnold starred in The Terminator. The film cost just $6.4 million to make, but earned $78 million. His line, I'll be back, was almost cut. He thought it sounded weird, but director James Cameron insisted. The phrase became iconic. Suddenly, Arnold wasn't just a star. He was a legend. From there, the hits kept coming. Between 1985 and 1991, he became the face of action movies. Commando made $57 million. Predator made $98 million. The Running Man, Red Heat, Raw Deal, each one added to his growing empire. He wasn't just acting, he was shaping the genre. But then he shocked everyone again. In 1988, he did a comedy. Twins paired Arnold with Danny DeVito. The idea sounded crazy. 2 brothers who looked nothing alike. But the movie made $216 million worldwide on a $15 million budget. Arnold DeVito and the director all skipped salaries for a cut of the profits. Each made over $35 million. It proved Arnold could do more than blow things up. He could make people laugh. Then came Total Recall in 1990. With a $65 million budget, it was one of the most expensive films ever made. The effects were groundbreaking. The film pulled in $261 million globally. Sci-fi had never looked like this before. And then came the real juggernaut. Terminator 2, released in 1991, had a $102 million budget, the biggest in history at that time. It earned over $517 million worldwide. The effects were revolutionary. Arnold earned $15 million, making him the highest-paid actor in the world. T2 changed action movies forever and cemented Arnold's place at the top. By 1993, he was officially crowned International Star of the Decade. No one questioned it. He wasn't just a bodybuilder anymore. Not just an actor, he was a global icon. In 1996, Arnold Schwarzenegger was on top of the world. He was a global action hero, married to Maria Shriver, part of the powerful Kennedy family, and gearing up for a future in politics. But behind closed doors, he was living a dangerous double life. That year, while Maria was pregnant with their 4th child, Arnold secretly began an affair with Mildred Baina, their longtime housekeeper. But the scandal wasn't just about the affair. It was the timing that made it jaw-dropping. Maria gave birth to their son, Christopher, on September 27, 1997. Just 5 days later, Mildred gave birth to Joseph Arnold's secret child. Both women were pregnant at the same time, living under the same roof. Mildred would even bring baby Joseph to the house. No one suspected a thing. On paper, Joseph's birth certificate listed another man, Mildred's husband, Rogelio Baena, as the father. But as Joseph grew, his resemblance to Arnold became impossible to ignore. When the truth finally exploded, it didn't just break a marriage, it tore apart a family. Joseph became estranged from his half-siblings, and Mildred had to flee Bakersfield to escape the chaos. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, they did. In 2003, as Arnold campaigned to become governor of California, the Los Angeles Times dropped a bombshell. 15 women accused him of groping, humiliating, or making sexual advances, stretching back over 30 years. These weren't vague accusations. One woman said he pulled her onto his lap and made lewd comments. Another said he forcibly removed her swimsuit in an elevator. Others described being groped on film sets. The media dubbed it Gropgate. But instead of derailing his campaign, Arnold powered through. Despite the scandal, he won the election with nearly 49% of the vote. He called the claims made up. But years later, he confessed in a Netflix documentary, "Forget all the excuses. It was wrong." His behavior off-screen only added fuel to the fire. In a 2003 interview with Esquire, he made remarks that shocked even longtime fans. He said, "When you see a blonde with great tits and a great ass, you say she must be stupid." He went on to say that sometimes they were smart, but the damage was done. Women's rights groups were outraged. Protesters filled the streets. Critics accused him not only of sexual misconduct, but of deeply ingrained sexism. His defenders claimed it was all part of his macho image, but the evidence kept piling up. And it wasn't just words. One of the most disturbing stories came from Carla Barron, a stand-in on the set of Twins in 1988. She said Arnold and another man sandwiched her, and then Arnold, after smoking a cigar, shoved his tongue into her mouth. She described it as an ashtray of human flesh. She slapped him and told him never to do it again. He apologized, but she knew she couldn't fight him. Not in an industry that protected its stars. Her account, backed by others on the set, became one of the most graphic examples of the culture of silence around powerful men in Hollywood. Despite all this, Arnold pulled off one of the most unlikely victories in political history. On October 7, 2003, he won the recall election to become governor of California. Over 4.2 million people voted for him. That included 43% of women voters, an astonishing figure considering the timing of the allegations. He even gained support from Hispanic voters and 18% of Democrats. The numbers were stunning. The election itself was surreal, with campaign buses named after his movies like Total Recall and Running Man. Gray Davis was out, and Arnold was in. He became only the second foreign-born governor in California's history. Once in office, Arnold didn't tone it down. In 2004, when Democrats resisted his budget plan, he mocked them in public. "They are girly men," he said, echoing a Saturday Night Live skit. The line got cheers from his base, but fury from the opposition. Critics called it sexist and homophobic. State Senator Sheila Quayle labeled it blatant homophobia, and others accused him of dragging political discourse into the gutter. Arnold didn't back down. His spokesperson made it clear there would be no apology. His macho image had become a political weapon, and he used it often. But then came the unexpected twist. Despite his tough guy persona, Arnold began pushing progressive policies. In 2007, he proposed a $12 billion universal healthcare plan that aimed to cover all 6.5 million uninsured Californians, including undocumented immigrants. He called it a shared responsibility plan. Individuals had to buy insurance. Employers had to help pay. Insurers had to offer fair plans. And people got discounts for staying healthy. Conservatives were furious. Liberals were stunned. He also went all in on climate change. In 2006, he backed the Global Warming Solutions Act, which put California ahead of the entire country in cutting emissions. It earned him praise from environmental groups and scorn from the Republican base. He had become a political wild card, a conservative who pushed liberal reforms. But his bold promises came at a steep price. When he took office, California had $34 billion in debt. By the time he left, it had ballooned to $91 billion. That's a $57 billion increase. His early move to slash the vehicle license fee cost billions in lost revenue. Then came the borrowing. $15 billion in deficit bonds, plus another $37 billion for infrastructure. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. Tax revenues collapsed, jobs vanished. The budget crumbled. Even with spending cuts and furloughs, Arnold couldn't stop the bleeding. By the end, every Californian owed $2,300 in state debt, more than double what they owed when he took office. Interest payments ate up more than 7% of the state's budget. Education, healthcare, and social services all took hits. Arnold's promise to terminate California's financial problems ended in disaster. The numbers told the final story. By 2010, his approval rating had crashed to just 23%. That was lower than the recalled governor he replaced. A 2009 poll put him at 28%. Only Gray Davis had done worse. People were frustrated. The budget was a mess. The promises felt broken. Conservatives said he betrayed them. Liberals said he was all talk. Everyone was fed up. The state legislature was just as unpopular. 17% approval. California was stuck. Arnold had come in with star power swagger and dreams of reform. He left with a broken budget, a fractured legacy, and a public that had moved on. On January 4, 2011, just one day after Arnold Schwarzenegger left office as California's governor, everything changed. He and his wife, Maria Shriver, sat down for a couples counseling session. But this wasn't just about working through problems. It was an ambush. The therapist turned to Arnold and said, "Maria wants to know, did you father a child with the housekeeper?" Mildred Arnold froze. Then, after years of denial and hiding, he answered, "It's true." The truth hit like a bomb. Joseph Baina. The boy in question had been born in 1997, just 5 days after Maria gave birth to their youngest son, Christopher. For years, Arnold had believed, or tried to believe, that Mildred's husband was the father. But Joseph looked more and more like Arnold with each passing year. Maria had suspected it for a long time. She even confronted Mildred before finally asking the question in that room. That moment didn't just break the marriage. It exposed a secret that had been buried for 14 years and shattered a family the public once saw as royalty. Arnold would later describe the moment in haunting terms. He said it felt like his heart stopped. "I told the truth," he admitted, "and I knew everything would collapse after that." Maria didn't scream. She didn't cry. But the damage was instant. That one sentence, "Yes, Joseph is my son," undid 25 years of marriage. The betrayal stung even more because of the timing. Joseph was born in October 1997. Christopher, Maria's youngest child, with Arnold, was born just 5 days earlier. The affair had happened in 1996, while Maria and the kids were away, and Arnold was filming Batman and Robin. Not long after the confession, Maria packed up and left. She filed for divorce within months. Arnold would later say, "I caused pain, deep pain for Maria, for the kids, for Joseph, for his mother, everyone." This was a total failure, not just in marriage, but in life. Joseph, at just 13 years old, learned the truth not from his father, but from the media. The headlines exploded in 2011. News vans camped outside his home in Bakersfield. Cameras waited to catch a glimpse of the boy who had just become international tabloid material. His mother, Mildred, pulled him out of school and told him, "We have to leave, everyone knows now." He was in 8th grade, barely a teenager, still figuring out who he was, and now the world knew something about him he hadn't even fully grasped himself. They fled to Texas to escape the chaos. Joseph would later say it all changed overnight. "My body was changing. My mind was changing. And now my life had just flipped. Even though Arnold and Joseph would later grow close bonding through fitness and training, those early days were pure trauma. Maria, on the other hand, was heartbroken in ways that went beyond betrayal. She had just lost both of her parents, Eunice and Sergeant Shriver, between 2009 and 2011. Her emotional foundation had already been shaken. Now her marriage was gone too. She described it as feeling like she had no identity left. "It broke my heart. It broke what was left of me," she said. She was flooded with grief, fear, anger, and shame. In July 2011, she officially filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. But the legal battle dragged on. The divorce wouldn't be finalized until 2021, 10 years later. In those years, Maria sought healing wherever she could. Therapy, meditation, even shamans and psychics. The marriage collapse wasn't just a personal disaster. It was a very public fall from grace. The Kennedy legacy met Hollywood scandal, and Maria stood at the center trying to hold herself together. Arnold tried to get back on screen. In 2010, he showed up for a brief cameo in The Expendables. It was shot in just 2 hours, but fans went wild. Seeing him with Stallone and Bruce Willis again stirred up serious nostalgia. In 2012's Expendables 2, his role got bigger. He was back, or so it seemed. But by the time Expendables 3 rolled around, he wasn't happy. He thought the writing was weak, and his character was pointless. He walked away from the fourth film. His comeback didn't have the punch he hoped for. It turns out audiences had moved on. The action hero of the 80s was now in his 60s, and while fans respected him, the world had changed. His time on top was behind him. Then came Terminator Genisys in 2015. Arnold returned to the role that made him a legend. The budget was massive, around $155 million. The goal was clear: revive the franchise and revive his star power. It didn't go as planned. The US box office opening was just $28.7 million. After 5 days, it only made $44.2 million in America. That was shockingly low. The film did better internationally, $74 million, but still not enough. It became one of the weakest performers in Terminator history. Even Arnold's famous line, "old but not obsolete," couldn't save it. Studios hoped China would carry the film, but the West had lost interest. The failure made one thing obvious. The magic of Arnold's blockbuster era couldn't be repeated, but there were deeper issues still looming. Back in 2003, just before Arnold ran for governor, the Los Angeles Times published a bombshell story. Multiple women accused him of groping and inappropriate behavior. Arnold denied everything at the time, calling it made up. But by 2023, in the Netflix docuseries, Arnold finally admitted the truth. Forget all the excuses, he said it was wrong. More than 15 women had come forward over the years, claiming similar experiences, some stretching back 3 decades. His late apology was a powerful moment of reckoning. It didn't erase the past, but it showed that even icons can be forced to face the truth eventually. His own confession about fathering a child with the housekeeper was included too, and with it, he finally owned what he once tried to bury. In 2022, Schwarzenegger found himself in the headlines again, this time for a 4-car crash in Los Angeles. He was driving a black GMC Yukon when it collided with a red Toyota Prius at Sunset Boulevard. The SUV rolled on top of the Prius and hit 2 other cars. Arnold was fine, but Cheryl Augustine, the woman in the Prius, wasn't. She suffered head trauma and bleeding in the brain. Her lawyer said she was now permanently disabled. She filed a lawsuit accusing Arnold of reckless driving. She claimed he refused to take responsibility. The LAPD found no drugs or alcohol involved. Still, the crash showed how one moment behind the wheel could have lifelong consequences for someone else, and how celebrity doesn't protect you from civil court. Despite everything, Arnold tried to stay close with all 5 of his children. That includes Joseph Baena. While his affair destroyed the marriage, he made it a point to be present in Joseph's life. Catherine Christina Patrick, and Christopher, the children he had with Maria, still appear with him at public events. He praises all of them in interviews and online, celebrating birthdays, milestones, and achievements. He calls their relationship fantastic. Joseph, meanwhile, has forged his own path. He's acted in small films, competed on Dancing with the Stars in 2022, and even landed the cover of Men's Health. He also works as a real estate agent and has completed a triathlon. Joseph looks and moves like his father, but he's determined to build a name for himself on his own terms. But one thing hasn't healed the distance between Joseph and his half-siblings. Despite sharing the same father and being born just 5 days apart, Joseph has no real relationship with Catherine Christina Patrick or Christopher. He wasn't invited to Catherine's wedding. He likes their posts online, but they don't engage back. It's subtle but loud. To them, he's still a symbol of betrayal, and to Joseph, that silence speaks volumes. He and his mother were forced to leave their home when the news broke. He grew up knowing he was part of something shameful, something never meant to be public. Even as Arnold tries to unite them, the emotional scars run deep. Joseph is the visible reminder of a secret that blew up a family. Arnold has said again and again that this, more than any film, any political failure, any business deal, is his greatest regret. He calls it the biggest failure of his life. "You can't blame anyone else," he said. "I did this, and everyone suffered." He's apologized to Maria, to the kids, and to the women who accused him of misconduct. He's tried to be better, but the cost has already been paid. He says he never wants Joseph to feel unwanted because of his mistake. That may be the most honest thing Arnold has ever said, because while his muscles, movies, and fame made him larger than life, it was his failures that finally made him human.